I want to talk to you guys about events and what we might be seeing in the future. And this is for larger corporate events, not, just weddings or anything like that, but trade shows, any type of conference, anything like that, where before we used to have a lot of people kind of packed in a room and it was try and sell out as many spaces as you possibly can. Obviously, COVID has created a lot of issues for events, and we're not even sure when larger events are going to be coming back. We're not even sure when weddings are going to be coming back. As of right now, we're still in lockdown here in Canada. I know some parts of the US are opening up, and I've talked to some of my colleagues in the US as well, and there's still some restrictions as to what can happen. Texas seems to be opening up more than some of the other places, but I think regardless of when we open up, there's still going to be a lot of restrictions and precautions that are going to have to be taken in order to be able to do events well and also safely, since COVID is going to probably be around for a little bit until we get a vaccine, and who knows how long that's going to take. So what does the future of events look like? And for me, I really feel like QR codes are going to be a large player in what we're going to see in events going forward, because QR codes are extremely versatile. And if you're not sure what a QR code is, they kind of look like a square with all these little, this is a QR code down here. They actually hold a lot of information. Now, a QR code can have so much information in this little box, everything from your web address to your name, your phone number, anything that you want to put in there, any type of information at all can go into that little QR code. And your phone also has the ability to natively scan QR codes. So if you have an iPhone, it's just a little toggle in your settings, and you can actually use your camera to scan QR codes without having to do anything. So if I hold up my phone, by the way, this is our service flyer, which of course I had printed right before this all happened in March, and we were going to send these out to all of our planners. And the reason we use a QR code is because a lot of our services really need to be seen in order to be understood. And so we put some information, and then in the bottom of each corner of each activation, we actually put a QR code where you can hold your phone over it, and it'll scan the QR code, and then you see how that little pop-up came? If I click on that, it'll actually take me directly to a video here. And so that video will then be played. I don't know if you guys can see that. And it shows the product. So this is how we take a paper document and make it a little bit more interactive. So again, we had a QR code on every single page. So similar to how that happened with our pamphlet, you can actually use QR codes for events, let's say for registration. Before, you had to go to a table, you had to interact with someone fairly closely. They maybe scratched your name off of a piece of paper, handed you a lanyard, and then you would go into the event. Well, what if you didn't have to interact with anyone at all? What if you could just go to an address on the web, on your phone, you show up, you just type in the URL, you register, and it gives you a QR code. So this QR code is going to be your access to the whole conference, and it's also going to be your tool for being able to provide people your information if you're looking to get more information from, let's say, a vendor or something. So you have this QR code. If you wanted to have a lanyard that was personalized, we do have an actual lanyard booth that can be triggered by a QR code. It doesn't have to be manned by a person either, which means that there's no contact there. And so social distancing doesn't need to happen because there isn't going to be a person other than the person in front of the photo booth. There's no contact with the photo booth either, so it's completely touchless. You literally would just walk up, scan your phone in front of the photo booth, and it would trigger the photo booth. It takes your picture, and then from the information from the QR code, it would actually complete your lanyard, so that you would end up with a lanyard that actually would have your photo on it and your name. So this is actually a sample of what the lanyard would look like when it's printed, and you can design this however you want, but you'll see that there is the picture in the front here and then the person's name. And on the back, you can actually have any of the information you want. So of course, these lanyard pieces, those still would require some sort of touching, but again, that is something that could be desanitized and set up so that people can take them without having any cross-contamination. So this is a great alternative to having people man a booth in terms of registration, and having a QR code that is going to collect that information and then create personalized lanyards. Now, you can also use a QR code to have an actual entrance. So similar to the bus stops and that kind of stuff, where you have to drop in a coin or something in order to get through the gate. You could essentially have gates there where people scan their QR code and it would allow them into the venue at that point. And again, QR codes do not have to have contact. You just need to be near the sensor and it'll see it, similar to a barcode. So there's another alternative for QR codes for admittance into a conference or a trade show. What about information at a trade show booth? You don't want to be handing out physical flyers, you know, if you just happen to order 500 of these. So you can again use QR codes to give information out to people at these trade shows. If you are a vendor or anything like that, just have your QR code propped in front of your table and people can then scan it with their phone and get all the information directly on their phone. You can also collect information from them if you wanted to, where they could scan the QR code, or you can scan their QR code and collect their email address, name, phone number, all that kind of stuff. Again, as a coordinator for this trade show, you can actually decide what information you want to put on this QR code, and what information wants to be shared. So again, no more flyers, no more people at registration, but you're still being able to deliver all of the information that you want. And for presentations and anything like that, if you're in a big room, we're definitely going to be seeing social distancing within the seats and having people be 6 feet apart. We're already seeing that in Parliament and all that kind of stuff. I don't think it's going to be any different for speakers. And, again, not being able to do handouts, QR codes on a big screen work just as well. So you would be able to have that QR code up there. People don't have to try and fumble with a URL that's like this long. They just hold their phone up, scan that QR code, and they'll get any information that you're trying to convey to people during your presentation without having them have to fumble through everything. So these are just a couple of my thoughts as to why QR codes are going to be such an important role going forward in some larger events. I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking as well. If you're seeing anything happening, we're always looking into what we can do to kind of change with the times and be ahead of the industry, I guess, so that when events do open up, we are ready to do them as soon as possible.